So with the Gears EDay closed beta being over, I wanted to quickly go over some of my thoughts and what my first impressions were of it. The beta answered the gameplay question, but there's still a lot hanging over this game that we don't know about, specifically the campaign and the story, which we do get a little bit of if you look on the character selection screen. It tells you a little bit. So I'm going to go over the multiplayer, gameplay, and the Horde mode, and what we actually got from the beta. Then I'll go into what I expect the game to be when it comes out, or what I'm hoping for it to be at least. The online discussion seems to be pretty split. There's a lot of people liking it, but there's also a lot of people that don't like it. I think overall, if I had to say, is it good or is it bad? I like it, but there are a lot of problems, so let's get into it. I think undeniably the biggest problem with the multiplayer is that when you shoot a gun, it's almost like the bullets come from your hand and they don't come from the barrel of the gun. Now this first clip is from the EDay beta. You can see my Nasher here is all the way to the left of this wall, and when I shoot, it's hitting the corner. This is totally disorienting if you've ever played any Gears of War game before this. I've gotten screwed out of so many kills in this beta because of this, and here's a clip on Gears 3 where I'm doing the exact same thing I was just doing on the EDay beta, but you could tell immediately how big the difference is here. I guess if you've never played Gears of War, then this might not seem like a big deal, but I've put hundreds of hours into Gears 3, Gears 4 multiplayer, and to be honest, I don't think they're going to fix this. I think this is just how the game is. Just based on the things that people are saying online, this doesn't seem like it's a huge deal to some people. I do hope I'm wrong about that because I'm not really tapped into the Gears community like I was maybe 10 years ago. The hit markers on this game are really weird and inconsistent. You can see in this clip right here, I just delete this guy, not a single hit marker to be seen. It's really only annoying because they decided to add hit markers, but they're bugged out half the time, so what is the point of having them? I would have rather them just not put hit markers at all in the game because that's how Gears was before the trilogy ended. But if you're going to put them in the game, then just make them work. And this is more of a nitpick, but I don't know why it doesn't show your outgoing damage. It gives you the whole breakdown of who shot and killed you, but you could hit somebody for 99% damage and you wouldn't know that, which is kind of fucking annoying for me personally. Something else is the blind firing on here when you're in cover and you're trying to just blind fire your Nasher. The game has a huge problem with this for some reason. You can see it for just a second in this clip. My guy holds the Nasher up and then doesn't shoot the gun and then switches to the other side of the cover. Now I would have missed the shot, but he doesn't shoot the gun. This happens so much that I just totally stopped trying to blind fire altogether. So this is kind of the only clip that I could find of it. Another thing that's really annoying is that you can't mantle kick anyone. In the trilogy, at least, I know if you hopped over cover and there was somebody on the other side, you would kick them and they'd get stunned for a second. I know in this clip I'm elevated higher than this guy, but when I jump over, I just jump all the way over him and then I have to do a whole 180 to kill him. And the last thing I'm going to talk about with the multiplayer and the movement and everything is the sensitivity. I was playing this beta entirely on controller. I didn't use keyboard and mouse, but I am on Steam. But honestly, Gears just doesn't feel like Gears if I don't use a controller. So this is what it looks like if you have the sensitivity maxed all the way out at 30 out of 30 on controller. It's not very fast, and I feel like if you max the sensitivity out, it should be way faster than this, especially when you're going against people that have keyboard and mouse. And most of the people in my lobbies were all on Xbox. If you see me bring up the scoreboard in any of these games, you could see it's like 80% Xbox, maybe 1 or 2 people on Steam. So it's not a huge deal. I am just trying to look out for the people that are on controller and might get fucked over by this. But anyway, this is what it looks like if you're on keyboard and mouse and you're just trying to spin around way faster. And these are just my initial impressions on the multiplayer. I got to almost max level, so I did play a fair amount of it, which is why it took me a minute to make this video. I didn't want to come out day 2 and just start dunking on the game without really getting a feel for it. And as far as the Horde mode goes, I had a way worse experience on here. First off, to get the beta exclusive skins, it makes you play about 4 hours of Horde mode, regardless on whether or not you like it, which I think is totally absurd. It seems like the Coalition really wanted you to like the Horde mode. To anyone new to Gears of War, or you haven't really played a whole lot of Horde mode, you're going to be really overwhelmed and confused. And I didn't really play Gears of War 5 because I kind of quit after Gears 4, but I remember Horde mode in Gears 4 being a lot easier to comprehend and just jump into. And this is all before you experience the jankiness and all the bugs that come with the Horde mode. First off, I don't think I was in a single game that was under 100 ping consistently. Not to mention I had to bump down almost every graphic setting just to try and get a consistent 60 plus FPS, and that's if I was lucky. This constantly happened, and I'll play you a clip here in a second, but they would play a voice line, but it would be overlapped with another voice line, so you had no idea what anybody was even saying.
The EDay confirms you have Horde in your vicinity. I've sent you some more deploy ordnance to the area, collapse that hole, and get out of it.
Like, alright, cool, thanks, it's good to know. Also, when you're buying equipment from the supply cache, you have to give it a second before you buy the second piece of equipment, or else it just drops it on the ground. You can see in this clip, I buy the first one and then give it a second and then buy the second one because it just drops it. I don't know why. This is obviously a bug considering this is more of a fast-paced game mode, especially when you're next to the supply cache. That's presumably where all the enemies are going to be. But I guess my experience was better than some other people's experience on PC. Some people couldn't even load into a single game of Horde. Here's a clip that I recorded from somebody else's video, and I don't care what the coalition says. I mean, they came out and said this is a beta, it's going to be buggy. Like, bro, we're less than 2 months away from this game fully releasing. This shouldn't be happening. And this guy showed his settings. He's on a 3070 Ti. I'm on a 4070 Ti. It looks like this dude's playing on a Nintendo DS. Like, this is fucking egregious. And like I said, I know this is a beta, but look, when this video comes out, we're going to be about 7 weeks away from the full release. And if you honestly think a beta is some super early development build, you're kind of lost. This game is mostly done. These are things that should have been ironed out weeks ago, months ago, through their own play testing. Another thing I see about any game that's about to come out, and this is increasingly common on the internet these days, is when you're watching content about it, you're either in a community of people that are just glazing it to death or people that are hating on every last thing that they possibly can. And you might watch the first part of this video and think I'm just shitting on it just to shit on it, but like, bro, I can't stress enough how much I want this game to succeed. I want this game to be good. That's really the reason I'm even making this video, is that I want to point out the problems. I want these problems fixed. Gears of War is really one of my favorite franchises ever, but literally every single time I look into a comment section on Instagram, it's either people shitting on it or people glazing it to death. They will not accept any amount of criticism whatsoever. Games are never going to get better if you just see a title like Gears of War, Call of Duty, Halo, and then you just toss money their way. Nothing's ever going to change like that. That's why I created this channel anyways, is because I want to buy these games and then review them and give you an honest review of them. Because regardless of Judgment Day, Gears 4, Gears 5, I still want Gears of War to succeed. But just because the title says Gears of War, it doesn't mean I'm going to get on my knees and start slobbing away. And like I said, overall, I think the gameplay is actually smooth. It feels good. It's quick. And I think it's important to keep in mind that the multiplayer and the campaign are two totally separate issues. We'll start with the fact that Mags Carter is the only one that has a second skin that you can get from this beta. No, not Dom or Marcus, you know, the two guys that you probably bought the game for. No, it's this random character that you've never heard of that is seemingly the most unlikable person so far that we've seen. And it gives us a little bit about the lore if you look on the character selection screen. It says that she survived 15 years of the Pendulum Wars, most dangerous demolition missions as a squad leader. Yeah, totally believable, by the way. She's not a part of any of the books. She's not a part of any of the lore prior to this game's promo or beta. But hey, thank God we got a skin for her and not Marcus. And I do understand that Marcus in this game isn't supposed to be the badass that we know him as, but if it's just going to be this humiliation ritual the whole game, I'm not going to be fucking with this. I'm really hoping that it focuses more on Dom and Marcus's origin story and doesn't just focus on these side characters that are probably going to die anyways, because to be totally honest, I could not care less. I want to know more about Marcus and Dom and how they became who they are in the trilogy. Even people like Baird and Cole, I kind of want to see a little bit of their origin story too, but I'm not counting on it based on who's writing this game and who's technically directing the game. Gears 4 and 5 both introduced new characters that we hadn't seen before, and they quite frankly did a fucking awful job with both of those. I'm talking about Del and Kate, so I'm really hoping that they learn from their mistakes there and they're gonna fix this franchise. Then again, we all know what climate we're in now. Games, movies, TV shows, there's very few that are actually good anymore. Pretty sure this game's gonna be on Game Pass too, so they're already losing a fuck ton of money with that. And for how desperately Microsoft needs this win, it's really confusing why they left a woman in charge to lead write this game, you know, for a predominantly male audience, because like, what woman is buying this game realistically? Ask yourself, do you know a girl that plays video games that likes Gears of War? A single one? No? No, the answer is no? Okay, so the answer is no. Let's be honest. And again, I said this in my last video. You can think however you want about that, but this girl has not a single writing credit on another game at all. She worked on one game, which was Far Cry 6. Even my woke friends say that game is garbage, and I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. If you stuck around this long, thank you. I'll see you in the next one.